Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Voice Essentials live hangout. I nearly did it. It's so good to be hanging out with you today, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on a Monday. That's when we always hang out, isn't it? So if this is the first time you've ever joined us, check your current time, because that's the time that we do this every week. Today we are going to be doing some Q&A, and I see some questions already coming in from Victoria Winner and from Mackenzie Kate, and we've got we're going to get to your questions a little bit later. Today we're going to do a Q&A preceded by a mini topic. Last week I kind of threw out a bit of a tease as to what the mini topic would be, and I had a smile on my face because I did catch that Kelly, one of our regulars here at not only in the chat but as a part of the Voice Essentials community, she guessed it correctly what we were going to be talking about today. Because I didn't tell you. I just told you it was something was really, really, really important for every singer, and that, of course, is. I'll tell you in a moment. Before we get into things, I do wanna just let you know about something really important that's happening within the Voice Essentials community, and that is, this is the second year that we are running, and when I say we, it's really Kathy Snyder we're running the Secret Singer Song Exchange. And we did it last year. It was a tremendous success. This is, I want to give full credit to Kathy here. This is Kathy's initiative, completely, holus bolus. This is all Kathy. And it just does my heart great wonder to just be so, I'm so appreciative, Kathy, of the fact that you came up with this idea. We ran it last year. It was so successful. We're doing it again this year. So if you're new to the community, what is the Secret Singer Song Exchange? Well, now you've only got one day, I think. From last time I checked, there is only one more day for you to join. You have to do this through the Facebook community group. So if you search within Facebook, the Voice Essentials community group, then if you're not a part of the group, you just ask to be a part. Make sure you fill out, there's some questions that you have to fill out. The most important being you agree to the group rules. If you don't agree, you won't be permitted to be a part of the group. But really, they're just just have a read of them. There's nothing untowards there. It's just about keeping the community group healthy and safe and all of those sorts of things. So you become a part of the group. Now, the Secret Singer Song Exchange. So I keep having to read my notes because I don't want to. It's a mouthful. But what you do is you put your name down. You let Kathy know that you want to be a part of the Secret Singer Song Exchange, and then what happens is you get put onto a list, and then Kathy takes that list and gives your name to another member. You also nominate whether you want to do a religious or non-religious festive season song, a Christmas song. So it doesn't have to be religious. Or you could put up, say, I don't care, I'm happy to sing a religious song or a non-religious song, it doesn't matter. So you let Kathy know what's your preference, and then your name gets given to another community member, and they choose a song for you that you have to then choose. Now, there is a this is not an exact thing. There is room for negotiation, my understanding is, and people did sort of massage the choices a little bit last year. That's okay. The whole idea is that we all get to sing. Once again, this year I've already recorded my song. Actually, sorry, I haven't already. I'm about to record my song for the channel. So I'll also be presenting a song that I chose. But anyway, the community will choose your song, or a community member will choose your song. You record it, you upload it, and there are some instructions that Kathy will provide you with, and then it gets presented onto the channel over a few weeks during sort of late November into December. And it's wonderful. We get to hear each other sing. We get to be a part of a festive season together, and it's just fantastic. And so you've got one more day to participate in that. And there is no expectation around how good the recording is. You can literally take your smartphone and simply set it up as a still image and just record that, and record yourself singing to a backing track, even a cappella, no backing track, and just sing it to the camera, and that's completely fine. And there are others who, I'll let you know, do go to just that little bit more of they fully produce it, and that's fantastic as well, because as a community we're across the spectrum. We're absolute beginners through to touring professionals, through to singing teachers. There's the whole gamut here of Voice Essentials, and so this is just something that, as I said, this is the second year we've run it, and Kathy, being just amazing, puts that together for us, and it's a wonderful service to us as a community. Also, just to let you know, we'll have one more special guest. He's lined up already. A special guest between now and the end of the year. Professor Brian Gill will be joining us again. We are going to be discussing a really, really interesting topic. And as I go to say, I've just been talking with him online about it. And as I go to say it, my mind goes blank. I do remember going, because I said to him, what would you like to talk about when you come on, which is sort of in about a month's time. And he gave me a list of suggestions. I went, oh, wow, we could talk about all of those until the cows come home. Anyway, I'm pretty excited about the conversation. He joins us at this time. In fact, I think it's the last 2 or 3 years that Professor Gill has joined us on the show. It's almost becoming a regular part of our year. It is becoming a regular part of our year, and I'm looking forward to hosting him again with you. We learn so much from him. He is literally, and this is no exaggeration, he is literally one of the leading voice scientists / singing voice specialists in the world. But he's so humble, and he's just a great guy, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with him again. Okay, have you guessed yet what the topic of our mini topic is going to be? Have you guessed? I'm going to prep it up so that we're ready to go. Quickly throw into the live chat. What do you think the mini topic is going to be about today? I'm watching our live chat to see if we've got any takers on what they think it is. Linda's saying not a clue. Sharon Fox is saying nope, no idea. I'm telling you, Kelly got it right. She got it right last week. So I thought some of you might know. Christopher, it's not breathing. It is not breathing. Any more takers? Come on, jump in. So surely someone's got to get it right. Given that Kelly got it right last week before I'd even mentioned what it is. I'm still waiting. I'm not going to wait much longer. Is anyone? No. We're going to. I'm a terrible tease, aren't I? We're going to be talking about hydration, the role of hydration in singing. You hear singing teachers constantly talking about you got to drink your water, you got to remain hydrated. Well, Mackenzie, you got close. I'm just looking over at Mackenzie's comment. Vocal health. Yes, actually, yes, we are talking about vocal health. That's exactly right. I'll give you half points, Mackenzie, because it's you kind of got the overarching point just right. So I want to sort of unpack this hydration thing quickly. We are going to get to Q&A a little bit later. And so continue to throw your questions up there into the live chat for Linda, and she'll take your questions down. So let's talk about hydration. It is so important. It is so important that with all my private students, the very first session I run is what I refer to as my first consultation. We do a vocal analysis often in those sessions. The student might sing something for me just so I can hear their voice and where it's at. But we talk through some really fundamental knowledge points. And one of those, so we talk about things like medication. We talk about their vocal health history, whether they've been to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, speech pathology. But we also we talk about things like, whether they smoke, vape, do pot. We also talk about hydration. I talk about it in the very first session. And you might go, well, that's a little bit overbearing. Well, actually, it's not. The reason I talk about hydration from the get-go is because it is so important to the anatomical functioning of your voice. When I talk voice, I'm talking your entire body, your entire instrument is dehydrated. You will lose efficiency. And when you lose efficiency of voice, then you start to lose, the voice is exposed to high levels of fatigue. Fatigue can lead to wear and tear. Let's get into this now, and let's talk through some of the really significant things about hydration. I want to first talk, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I do want to talk about the science behind hydration and singing. So first and foremost, when we're well hydrated, it creates lubrication. It facilitates lubrication for the vocal folds, therefore for smoother motion. It's a bit like the oil in your car. The laryngeal ventricles secrete a mucosa across the surface of the vocal folds so that as they come together and create contact, when the vocal folds come together, they're oscillating at a really high rate. That oscillation forms friction, and friction forms heat, and then heat can cause fatigue. The better the vocal folds are lubricated, then the less friction. And so it's so important. Your vocal folds are hydrated from within. This is what we refer to as systemic hydration. There are two types of hydrating of the vocal folds, systemic and superficial. And so the systemic hydration is born out of the hydration within your system. When you drink a glass of water, it takes 2 to 3 hours for that water to fully assimilate into your bloodstream to then facilitate lubrication from within the vocal folds. When you swallow water, water does not touch the vocal folds when you swallow. If it does, you go into a really violent cough. We've all had that happen. We suddenly get a little bit of that down the wrong part of the throat, and we go into a violent cough. So that's, and if it was to get even below that, that's technically known as drowning. We have to be hydrated from within to create that lubrication. And that's because, as I mentioned, there's this vocal fatigue that can onset if we don't have good levels of hydration. And because and that places the less hydration you have, the less lubrication you have, heightens the risk of vocal fold injury. It doesn't determine vocal fold injury, but it heightens the risk. I want you to hear me clearly there. Yeah, so really important. And when the voice is well lubricated, think about it. If you're, and I think many of us have had this experience when you're singing dry, and that might simply be because you're in a really dry environment. We'll talk about environment in a moment. But if you're in a really dry environment, you're singing, you know that because that air is dry, it dries you out even quicker. And you just know that it just has an effect on your sense of overall resonance. And this is important because we want to sound our best. But underpinning sounding your best literally is something, I'll say, as simple as keeping your water intake up. Yeah, and having clarity of tone, so sounding really good, having really great resonance, because it's not only your vocal folds that benefit from you being well hydrated, it's the entire vocal system, having a really, healthy lungs and good mucosa throughout the vocal tract itself. All of these things contribute to good resonance. But the clarity of tone that we get, one of the challenges that smokers of tobacco and pot, and dare I say vaping, as well as people who are on medicated steroidal puffers because of their asthma, these all have a rather drying effect on the vocal folds. And we start to, don't we, for people who are long-term chronic smokers, we hear that huskiness enter the voice. Yeah, it's this real reduction in clarity, and in the case of smoking, simply hydrating is not going to fix that. But we can, even if you're a non-smoker and you're dehydrated, we can kind of lean towards that lack of clarity in our sound. This is something I think we'd all be pretty keen to benefit from, is it does improve your pitch accuracy. It helps with range. Why? Because when your vocal folds and the whole vocal system is well hydrated, it is far more agile. It is far more free because it's well lubricated. It's able, all the parts are able to move with much better coordination and sustainability. This all adds up to the end product being on better pitch. And I think most of us are pretty keen to have that, right? The signs of dehydration are going to be dry mouth, increased thirst, yeah, and it's important that you listen to your body. Yeah, increased thirst and also vocal fatigue. Can I also tell you, a canary in the coal mine for me, personally, is my lips. If I'm reaching for like a lip balm where I want to moisturize my lips, that is a really key indicator for me that the air that I'm in is rather dry, and I need to really be attentive to upping my hydration in response to that. And so these are all the signs of dehydration. Try to learn to recognize in yourself what are the key indicators for you that you're feeling dehydrated. There, of course, water, we'll talk about the water in a moment, the water intake. That's my water bottle. But there are a number of really hydrating foods that are really, think watermelon, cucumber, oranges. These foods that have got high water content in and of themselves. And so, it's not only H2O that you're going to get your hydration from, but it is beneficial to make sure you are drinking 2 to 3 liters of water daily. And that's about 68 to, I had to look this up, folks. I'm sorry, I don't talk in ounces typically, but I thought there's so many of you that watch the show or listen to the show back from the US, and I thought I'd better throw. It's apparently, when I did my sums, apparently it's around about 70 to 100 ounces. Is that right, everyone in the US? 2 to 3 liters of water. Now, the key thing about that is that you're sipping that throughout the day. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. limit the intake of things that are going to dehydrate you. I've just noticed that the heading above the top there is still the science behind hydration. That's my mistake. It actually should read, the heading at the very top should say, how to stay hydrated. That's what we're talking through now. So how we stay hydrated is we limit dehydrating things like alcohol. Now, that is so important, especially if you're gigging regularly, if you're on tour. It's so important that you don't undo all your good work. Let's say you're getting into the habit of drinking your 2 to 3 liters of water today. And can I say, the only way to get into that habit is to carry your water bottle around with you. Have a water bottle with you everywhere you go. If you don't, you won't. And so it's so important that you have that water at ready so that you can just grab it and drink from it. Because if you don't have it, on hand, you can go an hour or two and not drink anything. You're going to limit the level of alcohol. We used to really recommend limiting caffeine as well. We now know that caffeine is perhaps not the diuretic we once believed it to be. So caffeine's not really on the naughty but nice, I've got to admit, as a person who loves his double shot coffees, I do enjoy my coffee. The challenge of caffeine is it's quite acidic, and it falls within the sort of the dehydrating groups from its point of acidity and the fact that it can raise your reflux levels, which then can be quite dehydrating. The other things you want to avoid are things like salty snacks, spicy foods. The spicy foods are, again, all about the reflux. I mentioned that we're going to talk about using a humidifier in dry environments. So it can be really good to just have a piece of a humidifier that's just spewing steam back into the room just to keep the room humidified. Also, you can get one of these guys. Can you see that? I'll bring it down here so you can see it. So this is a nebulizer. This is it's like a personal voice humidifier, and you just suck on it. I've mentioned these a number of times. These are so good because what these do is, remember I mentioned we're talking about systemic hydration. That is the hydration you get from drinking your water. This little guy facilitates superficial hydration. So it's actually more because it's moist air, the vocal folds won't react to it. You're not going to drown in it, but it's rehumidifying the surface of the vocal folds, and that's really beneficial, and particularly if you're in really dry environments. But it's also got many benefits. It helps with fatigue and vocal recovery and all those sorts of things. When you're drinking your 2 to 3 liters of water a day, I want you to sip the water throughout the day. Don't, this is a 750 ml bottle, right? If I was to drink that in one hit, what my body is going to do is it's going to go, excess water. I'll get rid of that because I don't need it. So it'll send me to the toilet pretty quick. But if I'm sipping this throughout the day, just a couple of mouthfuls every half an hour, quarter of an hour, then my body doesn't have that same reactive response where it wants to just flush it out. And so I'm slowly but surely facilitating a level of hydration that is much higher than if I was just, relying on the drinks I inevitably have throughout the day or the foods that I eat. And so drinking that, sipping that 2 to 3 liters of water per day, really important. As we come up, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this today, was because as we pointed out with the Secret Singer Song Exchange, as we approach the festive season, a lot of you are going to be participating in community choirs and community events. Maybe there'll be more for those of you who are professional singers. You know, your gigging schedule might go up. Your vocal load is going to be potentially higher than it has been. And so it's so important that you start now. Don't try to, you know, be good on the day of a gig. That's not going to be overly helpful. You need to start improving your systemic hydration now, so that in a couple of months, when that vocal load starts to really bear down on you and your voice, that the hydration, that systemic hydration level is in place. And so I want to encourage you, start today. You know, many of you are about to go to bed in the Northern Hemisphere. You're about to start your new week. Start this week. Start hydrating. Carry that water bottle with you everywhere you go. And if you don't have a water bottle, buy one. And if you don't have one that's easy to carry around, get one. This is a singer's must. You have to remain well hydrated. And there is not a singer on the planet that will not benefit from doing this. And if you're not in the habit of doing so, time to change that. Finally, I want you to be really mindful that once the gig's over, that's not the time to stop hydrating either. No, like we're saying, in the lead up to the gigs, hydration's important, but it's also going to benefit your post recovery, because it helps in clearing away lactic acid and other, you know, built up artifacts anatomically that can really fatigue and wear on the voice. But if you're well hydrated, then the whole system's going to be able to flush well, and it'll just help to recuperate and remediate the voice really effectively. If you've got any questions about any of this, throw them into the chat so that we can have we can talk to the questions directly. But please, 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 please be attentive to your hydration. It is so important. There is one last saying that I'll leave you with. You may well have heard it before. And it's a saying that's a couple of centuries old, I believe. It comes from the classical world of singing. And it's a really great little rule of thumb. And that is, pee clear, sing clear. If you're dehydrated, then your urine will be a darker, like have a dark yellow to it. Whereas if you are well hydrated, then your urine will be a lot clearer. It will be a lot less yellow. Obviously, there are other things. That vitamin B is a good classic one that will turn your urine fluorescent yellow. But those things aside, just be mindful. You want to pee clear so that you can sing clear. It's a good little rule of thumb to monitor your overall hydration. So there you go. I hope that's helpful. It will only be helpful if you go and do it. It's, you know, I say to some students often, and this is often the case, that a lot of the stuff that we do in my lessons with students, it's not overly hard. I mean, there are some challenging exercises as we get further into their development, but it's not rocket science. You know, we're not asking people to, you know, climb Mount Everest. But what's often hard is the discipline of doing it. And I know from personal experience, the discipline of hydrating well, it can be difficult to really get into that habit. And so I want to encourage you to do that. Let me come over to the Q&A. Wowzers, we've got some good questions going on here. So we get to go to Mackenzie to start, and let me find the question from Mackenzie. It was way back. Here we go. There it is. It's lovely to have Mackenzie back in the show. Just coming here. I'm just going to get this all ready. Oh, come on. Where are you? There we go. Okay, so Mackenzie, it's good to have you back. Mackenzie, I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. Questions about breath management. I'm struggling with a song. How do I sing through long phrases without stopping to take breaths? Well, first and foremost, breath fuels the voice. You are going to need to stop to take breaths. What you have to identify, and this is important for you to go through, look at your piece. More often than not, this is going to be particular parts of a piece where you have to be very choreographed in where you take those breaths. So often just, having a lyric sheet and putting little markers on your lyrics to let you know this is where a breath needs to be taken. Because sometimes if you don't get a breath at that point, there is no other point along the phrase to stop to get another breath. It's a bit like if you don't pull in for fuel at said service station, said gas station, on a long journey, you might not have another opportunity to pull in for gas for another 100 miles. You might not have 100 miles in the tank. It's the same with your voice. Breath fuels the voice. You've got to get the right points to get the right breath. But always remember this. You never run out of breath at the end of a phrase. In some ways, we run out of breath at the beginning of a phrase when we didn't take the right amount of air in the first place. Because we're creating a scenario in which you will always, if you don't get the right amount of air, you're always going to end up with not enough air at the end of that phrase. The issue happened at the beginning, not at the end. So getting the right amount of air, that's the moment that you've got to focus in on. Are you facilitating quality intake of air? Quality being not only how much, but how you are taking that air in. Are you taking it high? If you take the air high, when you inhale, that is going to not allow enough air for certainly, it sounds like the phrases that you are singing, Mackenzie. So you need to make sure you breathe low, release your abdominal wall, let the diaphragm descend completely, efficiently, so that the lungs can fully inflate with air, so that then you've got good quality air to travel the phrase. We go into all of this in Voice Essentials, the Voice Essentials program, Mackenzie. So make sure you get back into those exercises with breath management. Again, breath management is a bit like hydration. So many times we hear singing teachers talking about, learning to breathe well or making sure you're drinking plenty of water. But often we don't actually stop and talk about how do we do that. And so in the Voice Essentials program, we go right into that. We've got exercises built to help you facilitate that. And so I hope that's helpful for you, Mackenzie. Let's come down here. Victoria Winner has got a question, which I'm going to try and find. I think this is the question, Victoria. So here we go. My voice wavers in the wrong notes. How do I correct that? That's interesting kind of statement. I'll be honest and say I'm not exactly sure what you mean by your voice wavers in the wrong notes. Are you talking about hitting the right note and then the voice sort of doesn't quite hold to that? Or are you talking about trying to hit the right notes and the voice doesn't? A lot of this, and it's interesting, having just come from Mackenzie's question about breath, a lot of this is going to be, you're going to really benefit from better breath management. You are going to run into commentary online, sometimes from some rather large learn to sing channels, where they advocate the idea that just leave the breath alone. Natural breath, you'll be fine. I do not subscribe to that view. The reason being is I'm yet to meet a singer who naturally breathes well to the point that is beneficial to their singing. Breath management for singing is very different to tidal breath for living. And so you need to learn how to breathe well. This facilitates better note. It facilitates better phrasing. It facilitates better resonance and tone. There are so many things that are benefited by good breath management. And good breath management facilitates better tension management, and better tension management facilitates better breath management. And so when we are able to get this whole system working efficiently, so that it's all working together holistically, then you get better outcomes. And you get better outcomes with things like pitch. So, Victoria, I'm not certain I've answered your question, but I hope that's helpful. This is an interesting one. Sharon is asking about I'm going to try to find the right question here. This question here, is alkaline water particularly beneficial? I'm not sure. Alkaline water is so water is usually pH neutral of about 7.0. I know this because I keep freshwater fish, and every week after 20, about 12 hours after I've done a water change, I always check the pH, amongst other different things, nitrates and nitrites, and I check the water quality. And one of those things that we're always checking is the pH. We want it to sit around about, for the fish that I keep, around about 7.0, basically what comes out of your tap. Depending on where you live, it can drop down to 6.8 or can rise to 7.2, but we want it to be around about 7 typically. When we go with alkaline water, we're making it less acidic. So we're dropping the pH to have less acidity, to make it more base, make it more alkaline. There are some people that really, and this is me now commenting on it, not from a point of knowing how it benefits us. There are people that suggest that alkaline water is very beneficial, particularly for ones who struggle with things like reflux. And because if the water you're drinking is less acidic, then the suggestion, the idea is that it helps to not load up acidity within the stomach, and which then in turn is meant to be beneficial for things like reflux. So to my knowledge, there's no levels of harm. There's nothing untowards with drinking it. In fact, I've got a few students who come in regularly and do, have their alkaline water bottle with them. It's not something I've ever tried, I must admit. But these things, often these things are really best discussed with your own healthcare professional, and to really ask them about what are the benefits, if any, and because, you are going to be having to pay out of pocket for alkaline water. Is that going to be beneficial? Is it profitable? And a good healthcare professional should have a better understanding on the benefits to you physically. But certainly hopefully that covers off on why we would want to drink the alkaline water is about dropping acidity, but I don't have any personal experience in that. We've got one more question, and then we are going to call it a day. let's come up here. I'm going to find, oh, here we go. This is Tatiana is asking, hi, what is the correct type of breathing to reduce air pressure? Chest breathing or diaphragm and belly breathing? Oh, Tatiana, you may not realize it. That is a question that in Aussie colloquialism we would say that's opening a can of worms. That one. There are very strong debates that go on about breath management. The way I teach breath is a combination, a hybrid of two methodologies. The first being Apogeo. This is a pretty long-standing method of breath, really advocated by Richard Miller in The Structure of Singing. There's another method of breath, another methodology of breath management called accent method, and it's much younger in its sort of thing. Accent in some ways, and I'd be happy to be corrected on this, in some ways accent sort of kind of throws the baby out with the bathwater, I think, with Apogeo, and so I'm reticent to get rid of the baby. But I think when we keep the baby in the bathtub of Apogeo and we add to it the nuance, some of the really good abdominal orientations of accent, I arrive at how I teach breath management. As I said, it's a hybrid of the two. And so that's how you're going to facilitate really good orientation for contemporary vocal. The thing, and we're going to finish up on this, the thing to know about breath management for contemporary singing, it's not based on how much more air you can take on. It's not based on developing more volume, more capacity. Good breath management for contemporary vocals is all about how you're able to facilitate the flow of air and maintain a reduced phonatory threshold pressure while maintaining an even phonatory threshold flow. These are the two balancing things that we've got to get right in contemporary vocal. If you have too much pressure, that is, if you set up your system based on a more of a classical modality of breath, then you are, for contemporary singing, you're going to have too much pressure. The larynx is going to want to grip against that because a lot of contemporary vocals is thyroarytenoid dominant, TA dominant, mode 1. And because the musculature that is already creating that body of sound is already activated, if you pressurize that from underneath, it'll grip and it's likely to constrict. So it's so important that you're not sort of taking on this volume of air and then sitting the larynx on top of that. You want to make sure that you are facilitating good complete breath. And when I say complete breath, every phrase requires different levels of air. Why have on all, a whole heap of air when you don't need it? That's inefficient. If every time you pass a gas station, if every time you pass a gas station you pull in to fill up, you never make it home. So you only fill up as you need to fill up to the amount that you need each phrase. You only ever need the amount of air that you need, and that's governed by the phrase. And so, but to do that, you've got to facilitate the development of your breath management. And again, in the Voice Essentials program, you can certainly have a look at that. So there you go. I hope that's helpful, Tatiana. And I've got one more. I've just seen one more question there from Jennifer. Jenna, where do you start as a beginner singer? Well, you start down here. See these links going along the bottom here? Make sure you check out voiceessentials.com.au. There is a whole, it is like absolute beginner, never having sung program right through to facilitating advanced voice. And we go into the nitty-gritty. In my lessons, when I'm teaching a student, I don't approach it with, let's sing a whole heap of songs and we'll make a whole heap of comments and create a whole heap of ideas. I don't teach that way. My job is not to teach you how to sing, what songs to sing. My job is to teach you how to sing. It comes from it's built on the old adage, give a man a fish, he'll feed his family for a night. Teach a man to fish and he'll feed his family for a lifetime. It's an old proverb. And it's the same with your singing. Yeah, if we were, you and I, we were doing some singing lessons and I taught you one or two songs, that's great. You'd learn to sing those one or two songs. But if I teach you how to sing, then you can rock up and sing a much wider variety of options. And that's certainly my approach. That's the approach you'll be able to join in with in the Voice Essentials program. And so many people that have been in the live chat today have already participated in that and continue to participate in that program. And so I think you'll find that helpful, Jenna. A reminder, the Secret Singer Song Exchange, as I said, I think it does finish up today or tomorrow. Let Kathy know. I'm sure if you're a day or two late, it won't be a big deal. You'll still be able to participate. You've got to do that through the Facebook community group. So make sure you jump in there and join in. I won't go into what it is again, but certainly ask Kathy about it in the Facebook community group, and you'll learn all about it. It's a lot of fun, and it's so good to hear everyone singing during the festive season. Another live hangout done and dusted. We're going to do a full Q&A next week. So please make sure... No, we're not. No, we're not. Ooh, that was close. There's no hangout next week. You would have all been going, where's Dr. Dan? No, sorry, I'll be in Sydney with my youngest daughter. She is a part of a team who won a national biomedical competition. Well, she won her team came runners up in a state comp, and now we're going down to Sydney. For those of you who don't know Australia, it's about 1,000 kilometres south of where I am right now, and we're flying to Sydney on Sunday so that her team can participate in the national competition for the biomed competition. They built an app around sun safety and stuff. It's very clever. It's very cool. And Taran, that's the name of my daughter, I think she's more excited about the plane trip than she is about actually participating in the competition. But anyway, so I won't be here next week. So I will see you again in 2 weeks when we will do... I'm pretty sure we're going to do another Q&A when I see us in 2 weeks' time. So thanks for hanging out. Have a good couple of weeks. Stay safe. There's so many, troubling things happening in our world at the moment. So wherever you are, I hope you stay safe and stay healthy. Keep singing, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next Vocal Essentials live hangout. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.